Short Story 34. The Library of Love. Once upon a time, in a charming little town nestled among the rolling hills, there lived a young woman named Alice. She was a kind and intelligent soul with a passion for books. Every day Alice would visit the local library, where she would lose herself in the pages of her favourite novels. One day, as Alice was browsing the shelves, she bumped into a handsome young man named Bob. Bob was also a book lover, and the two quickly struck up a conversation. They talked for hours about their favourite authors and genres, and they soon realised that they had a lot in common. Alice and Bob began meeting at the library regularly. They would spend hours talking, laughing, and sharing their love of books. Over time, their friendship blossomed into love. One day, Bob decided to surprise Alice with a romantic picnic in the park. He packed a basket full of her favourite foods and drinks, and he even brought a bouquet of favourite flowers. When Alice arrived at the park, she was completely smitten. Bob led Alice to a secluded spot under a shady tree, and they spread out a blanket on the grass. They ate their lunch, chatted and laughed. After they had finished eating, Bob got down on one knee and pulled out a ring. "Alice," he said, "you are the love of my life. Will you marry me?" Alice's eyes filled with tears of joy. "Yes, Bob," she said, "I would love to marry you." Alice and Bob were married a few months later in a beautiful ceremony, surrounded by their closest friends and family. They settled down in a cosy cottage near the library, and they lived happily ever after. Years later, one day Alice was cleaning out the attic when she came across a dusty box. She opened it up and found a collection of old love letters that she and Bob had written to each other when they were first dating. Alice sat down on the floor and began to read the letters. She smiled as she remembered all the happy times they had shared together. She also remembered the challenges they had faced and how they had always overcome them together. As Alice finished reading the last letter, she felt a warm wave of love wash over her. She was so grateful to have Bob in her life. He was her best friend, her lover, and the father of their two beautiful children. Alice decided to put the letters in a new box and place them on the top shelf of her bookshelf. She wanted to make sure that she and Bob could always cherish the memories of their early love. One evening, Alice and Bob were sitting on the couch reading their favourite books. Their children were already asleep in bed. "I'm so glad we met at the library," Alice said. Bob smiled. "Me too," he said. "It was the best day of my life." Alice closed her book and looked at Bob. "I love you more than words can say," she said. Bob put his book down and leaned in to kiss her. "I love you too," he said. Alice and Bob continued to read and kiss for the rest of the evening. They were content to simply be in each other's company. The library was where their love story had begun, and it was fitting that it should be where it continued to grow stronger with each passing day. One day, Alice and Bob decided to open their own bookstore. They wanted to create a space where people could come together to share their love of books. They called their bookstore the Library of Love. It was a cosy little shop with shelves filled with books of all genres. There was also a comfortable reading area where customers could curl up with a good book and a cup of coffee. The Library of Love quickly became a popular spot in town. People of all ages would come to browse the shelves, chat with Alice and Bob, and enjoy a good read. Alice and Bob were happy to see that their bookstore was bringing people together. They knew that the library was where their love story had begun, and they were grateful to be able to share that love with others. One day a young couple came into the bookstore. They were looking for a book to read for their honeymoon. Alice and Bob helped them find a romantic novel that they were sure to enjoy. As the couple was leaving, the woman turned to Alice and said, "Thank you for helping us find this book. It's the perfect way to start our honeymoon." Alice smiled. "I'm glad we could help," she said. "I hope you have a wonderful time." Alice and Bob watched as the couple walked out of the bookstore, hand in hand. They smiled at each other, knowing that they had played a small role in their love story. Alice and Bob continued to run the Library of Love for many years. They saw many couples come and go. They also enjoyed helping them find the perfect book to celebrate their love. One day, Alice and Bob decided to retire. They knew that it was time to pass the torch to a new generation of book lovers. They sold the bookstore to a young couple who shared their passion for books and love. Alice and Bob were sad to see their bookstore go, but they were happy to know that it would continue to be a place where people could come together to share their love of books. Epilogue. Many years later, Alice and Bob were sitting on a park bench, enjoying a sunny afternoon. They were surrounded by their grandchildren who were playing on the swings and slides. Alice looked up at Bob and smiled. "I'm so glad we met at the library," she said. Bob smiled back. "Me too," he said. "It was the best day of my life." Alice and Bob turned to watch their grandchildren play. They were proud of the legacy they had created. The Library of Love was a place where people could come together to share their love of books and their love for each other. It was a place where love stories began and flourished. And it was all thanks to a chance encounter between two book lovers in a charming little library. The end.